Then position one separate. He has all the paperwork and everything.
Do you want to get the board in the shot as well?
Is it totally out?
Yeah. If you can lower it a bit as well.
Take one, pass it on, please.
Take one and pass it on.
Again, take one, pass it on. Okay. You've got the PowerPoint instruments? Yeah. Got them ready. So who's come from Huddersfield? Oh, someone. So you came all the way from Huddersfield just... Oh, my God. How was the journey? Was it alright? Spare, yeah. It's spare then. Okay, inshallah, I think we'll start now. Exactly what we wanted to do, start by 9:15. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulil kareem, amma ba'd. Jazakallah for coming and taking part in our training. We've got a lot to cover, so there might be times where I'm going to start rushing things, but just to let you know, we initially planned to give everyone a USB with a lot of resources on. So they haven't arrived from China yet. So our backup plan was a DVD with all the resources. They were taking extremely long. So plan C came into effect. If you look inside your booklets, there's a link to all of the resources that I'll be showing you. Okay. And there's many more. So there should be a sticker inside. And not only that, as I was mentioned, if you still need a DVD, we're going to give you an evaluation form at the end. And what you can do, on top of that, you can leave us your email and your address, and we will definitely post them to you as well, because we promise, inshallah. But anyway, you can get all of them on these links. Okay, so you go to our website, and there will be a page for Google Drive, and the other blue thing, Dropbox. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, first of all, if you look at this sheet over here, because we are going to go around, it's going to be very thematic, it's going to be it's not going to be structured in the sense of, okay, here's bit 1, 2, 3, 4. I will be going all over the place, so I just want you to see this. Because when I was trying to plan for this lesson, and as it is about planning, so I kind of felt I was going all over the place. But to give you a structure of how the lesson will be. So first of all, when you go into a restaurant, okay, you're given a menu. Okay, and that menu kind of tells you how your day or your moment in the restaurant will be like, what kind of things you will have. Okay? It prepares you for it. So that's the menu. After that, you usually have a starter, okay? Followed by the main course, followed by what we call a plenary, or the dessert. Now, as you're there sitting at the table, you cannot do without some water, okay? That's also there, and also some salt. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be looking at the menu, okay? And we're going to be looking at the starter, the main, and the plenary, and the salt and the water on the side. Okay? And as we go along, I'll be telling you, okay, this is where we're at, this is where we're at, because you might get confused. We might go completely off on the salt for some time. Might be on the water for a long time. So it's a lot about that. And not only that, I realise that a lot of us are fairly new to the teaching profession. or we have a lot of experience, but when it comes to theory, we haven't studied much, we haven't looked at it much, we haven't had the chance. So that's why we are going to be basic, but at the same time, for those who are experienced, we are going to add in other things as well. So it's beneficial for both. So we will start each other. Okay. First of all, I'm not going to lecture too long, and you will get time to interact with your table and your group as well. So in our madrasa, Fatimah Elizabeth Kate's Academy, we've only been here since December, this December. When we started, we went for a very strong philosophy, because we believe any madrasa, any institute, you need a philosophy. You need a reason for starting your institute, and then everything revolves around it. So we had our basic philosophy. We felt that our pedagogy and teaching methodology will be formulated around 4 things, right, loosely. An experience-based education, which caters for the individual needs, okay, of pupils. Some of these terms will be fairly new, but you'll get used to them as the lesson goes on. And thrives on their unique learning skills and abilities. Okay? Someone might not be a very good writer. They might not be able to write properly, but they can draw really well. They're good at art. It doesn't make the writer any better than someone who can draw. It doesn't make the person drawing any better than someone who can write. Okay? A holistic method, okay, which encourages active, independent learning. We're going to be talking about independent learning, and where our madrasas stand and where schools stand. And the teacher takes the place of a facilitator and guide, and a hadi. Okay? Number 3, one which works towards keeping the hearts, and I think this is the most important, and this is where we're really focused on. One which works towards keeping the hearts and minds of Muslim children open for Islam and the masjid after they leave the maktab or the madrasa or the academy. So the most important thing is keeping the hearts of children, alive for Islam, even after they've left. Because what tends to happen, and being a school teacher in a secondary secular school, I've seen many Muslims leave Islam. Some openly, some not so openly. Okay, I've seen just last year a child. Remember, this child used to, as you see in Fajr. Okay, this child, he used to be doing the adhan for Jummah Salah in our school. And yet he turned atheist, okay, because he read or was introduced to Darwin, okay, Dawkins, very similar names. So Richard Dawkins, and as he read his book, and this is what I tend to do as an RE teacher in school, I tell my students, look, here's Richard Dawkins' book. However, you can't just read that book and think that's it, there's nothing else. There's about 10 books written against that one book. Okay? So it's only fair that you read both sides and then make a decision. Okay, so that's one thing, but the problem is, if our Muslim children don't have that kind of guide or that facilitator or that some teacher or that environment inside the madrasa which doesn't allow for keeping their hearts alive to learning, especially about Islam, that will not be the case. It won't be easy for them to continue. So that's one of our things. And lastly, the curriculum should be made relevant to students of the modern age. Now this is very important, and what we're having now is basically point number 4. Because what tends to happen is they're very used to a certain way of doing things in school. The set way of doing things. As soon as they come to madrasa, it's completely different. Okay, they just tend to get used to that. But they look down towards the madrasa institute and the way it's run. Because what happened, when I was doing my PGCE to become a teacher, I used to go around and ask almost all the Muslim children in the primary schools, secondary schools that I went to for experience, and I failed to find even one child who said, I love going to madrasa. So our aim was that we, from our madrasa, try and turn that around. That look, we prefer to go to madrasa because not only do we get Islam, but we are taught the skills of thinking, right? Even more as than school. So we need to up the game, and this is why, alhamdulillah, all of you are here, I believe. So, I'll just quickly mention a quote from Pedagogy of the Oppressed, a very good book. I think that's a book that all of us should read. It might take a long time to digest and understand, but it's a brilliant book. He writes, there is no such thing as a neutral educational process. What that means is, there's no such thing as an education where there's no purpose behind it. Okay, there's a purpose behind, there's an agenda behind every type and every kind of education. Education either functions as an instrument that is used to facilitate the integration of the younger generation into the logic of the present system and bring about conformity to it. So either you're sending your children to school And what's happening is they're going to school, they're taking in everything, they're taking it in, and they're taking it in, and they become conformists. That means they just do whatever the system wants them to do. Okay? That's one way of doing it. In our madrasas, I believe we need to take the second part. Okay? Okay? Or, this is what our madrasas need to do. We need to become the practice. So our education system needs to become the practice of freedom. And I very strongly believe now is our time for Muslims. It's a very interesting time for us. We shouldn't think, hold on, government's doing this. It's interesting times. Okay, we've got the opportunity, right, to practice freedom. Isn't that amazing? Okay, the means by which men and women deal critically and creatively with the reality and discover how to participate in the transformation of the world. Okay? In America, okay? Civil rights movements, when the blacks, there was segregation. At that time, they practiced this. They practiced freedom. Okay? And that's what education is about. It's about that practice of freedom. And it is now that us Muslims and our children need to not just conform, okay, but creatively and critically, it's extremely important, creatively and critically engage with the world around us in order to transform it, to change it. And I believe that's what Prophet ﷺ came to teach us. Okay, he didn't just isolate himself, no, he directly engaged with the people in Makkah and all the troubles that were going. He engaged with them in order to transform and change them. Okay, but there were different means that took place. Yes, so that's something that we need to kind of wake up to and realize that actually we live, as the Chinese say, we live, or may you live in interesting times. So they say it as a curse, but no, look, we are living in these times. For us, it should make us more creative. It should make us more critical. Okay? It should give us that passion to say, hold on, we're not going to stand for this conformity. We're not going to stand for this conformity. We will engage with you, yes, critically and creatively, in order to transform the world for the better. Okay? So that's something that we've got to do. Going back to our own mashayikh and ulama, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah used to say, have fun with your child for 7 years. Perform ta'deeb on him for 7. Most important thing is have fun with your child for 7 years. Imam Ghazali, right, 1,000 years ago, he is emphasizing, he mentions it first. Okay? He also says, prevention of the child from playing games and constant insistence on learning deadens his heart or her heart, blunts his sharpness or her sharpness of wit, and burdens his or her life. He looks for a route to escape them, his studies altogether. Now I see this in school, okay? This happens on a daily basis, almost every single lesson, unless there's an engaging kind of lesson. Okay, and it's very difficult to plan engaging lessons if you're teaching about 20 lessons every single week. Okay, and you have 550 children. So our government does not kind of help the teachers in this. Okay. And you also have the printouts folders, you can write your notes around that if you like. Okay, in fact, Imam Ghazali believed that play could even be used as a way to encourage children to learn, presumably through games that had some educational purpose or as a form of reward for studying. Okay. So again, play, fun, some kind of using play and fun for education. This is what our mashayikh and our scholars came up with hundreds of years ago. And we need to go back to that. And sadly enough, I mean, it's the West who are taking all this. They've understood this, and they're taking this. And they have seen this from the Muslims in the past, I believe. We have a historian saying here, inshallah, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Children must be playfully coaxed into acquiring knowledge and understanding. As a Persian scholar, okay, what he kind of means is they should be fooled into learning. So they should be learning in a way that they don't even realize that learning is going on, but it's happening. Again, that's how it should be. And even if that's in the madrasa, at home, as parents, this is what we're talking about. Okay, now, a Mamluk scholar, okay? Al-Abdi, educationist. Okay? Mamluks were, there's a professor at the university where I studied, Yossi Rappaport, he's not even Muslim, he's Jewish, or ex-Jewish, okay? He mentioned, he said that if you want to see an Islamic society, a pure Islamic society, after obviously the Khilafat al-Rashida and Prophet's time, the Mamluks, right, they were not affected by the West yet, they affected the West. Okay, there's an English, we can't say tourist, but he came, a traveller, okay, an English traveller, he came to the Mamluk lands in Egypt and Syria, and he went back and he said, it's just completely strange in Mamluk lands. In our country, in England, the men divorce the women. In Mamluk lands and Muslim lands, the women divorce the men. Okay? He said, in our country, we control and rule over our slaves, and Mamluks, they control, the slaves, they rule over their masters. Because Mamluks were initially slaves, and they became sultans, and they carried from there. So he says, if a pupil is kept from play and forced to work at his task without intermission, okay, his spirit will be depressed, his power of thought and his freshness of mind will be destroyed. He will become sick of study, such that he will try all the possible tactics to evade his lessons. I think that's a very important passage for us in madrasas, okay, for us in maktabs to really learn from Al-Abdari, okay, and try and understand, where he's coming from. And it's very, very true. I see this at school. Okay? I saw this more often when I was at madrasa, in a masjid, in a masjid madrasa. Okay? So this is something that we need to learn from everything. They can't be kept away from play. Okay? And I sometimes feel sorry because we went through the same system. You go to school, you have your 5 periods, 5 lessons, and then you have your break times and everything. You come back home, within an hour you're going to go back to madrasa, and an extra 2 hours. Okay? So we as madrasa management or teachers need to realize that they've gone through a whole day of school and now they're coming here. We've got to really ease back and relax with them. Okay? Their spirit will be, and their freshness of mind will be destroyed. That's the last thing we want. Okay? We don't want someone's mind to be set off Islam. So these are some of the things we need to keep in mind, and I'll stop lecturing inshallah. Let's see what's next. Yes, I'll stop lecturing now, and we're going to start some activities. And the purpose is, the reason why I do want everyone to be involved in these activities fully is because if I'm going to be teaching about lesson planning and teaching, it's not just about the teacher standing and lecturing, which I've been doing so far, which is completely wrong. Okay? It's opposed to teaching methodology and everything else. Okay, so as I said, right now we're about here. Okay, we're on the menu and we're on the starter. Okay, we're going to go down to the main and plenary towards the end. Okay, here's a say. Absolutely, he nails it for us. Okay, we should be as concerned with how we teach as we traditionally have been concerned with what we teach. Okay, it's 2 different things. How you teach and what you teach. What you teach is your textbooks. That's also important. But I think how you teach is even more. Okay, it's how are you going to take that text or that information and creatively, not just pass it on, but how will the students engage with that information so that that information becomes relevant for them now in this modern age. I think that's the most important thing we have to kind of grapple with. And this is what we're going to be doing today. Okay? How do we teach? Okay, how? What should we do? What method should we use? Okay, so first of all, what we've got here is some activities. So if we can have one here. For the brothers, can we kind of get into 2 groups here? One each group. And again, sisters, we can have Bell. Break up into 2 groups on that table. Okay, so. Okay, right. And on. Okay, Diamond 9. The reason I'm using this activity not just to make you engage with the lesson, but also to show you how an activity like this can be used for over 1,000 things, for 1,000 topics that you're doing. Almost every topic you can use this. And I'll show you how some of our teachers have been using Diamond 9. So, you can write anywhere. There's paper around as well. You can write on your thing as well. But first of all, the aim is to make a Diamond 9 like this. Okay? But you're not going to put things in any order. What is the most important aspect or part of a lesson, do you think, and why? So what you're going to do, you're going to discuss this amongst yourselves. Okay? It can't just be the opinion of one person. You're going to discuss it, disagree, and come up with what you think is the most important part of a lesson. Okay? And why. Some of you might not be used to some of these terms, but don't worry, that's the purpose, just to throw you in the deep end, okay, and see what happens. Okay, and at the bottom is what you think is the least important. It's not that important, okay? It might be, but not as important as the top. So you're going down in order of the most important thing that should be in a lesson, okay? And you should have this on your PowerPoint, on your printouts. You can see this. Okay? So at the top goes the most important thing, at the bottom, the least important. So you start putting your diamonds up now. Everyone understand what they're doing? Everyone fully understood? Cool.
Right, what do you guys think?
I just want to start most or least.
Any brothers find starting a sentence difficult? So if anyone does, here's some sentence starters, inshallah. Differentiation.
Oh, fair enough.
Any brother find starting a sentence difficult?
Starting with the most or least.
So first you discuss it. You just discuss for about 3-4 minutes. Then I'll stop you and I'll get you to write this down.
We'll start from the least and then work up. Do you want to work it down? Let's work. Do you want to work up? So start with the most
Maybe we
important.
should work up.
Yeah.
Because
Work up.
we decide what's most important.
Yeah.
Well, let's make.
What's assessment for learning?
I think that's just
How do you assess it?
just assessment. Yeah. But then I was thinking if that's assessment, that could be linked with plenary. Because plenary is
More or
similar.
less assessing.
Yeah, assessing. You're just making sure that they've taken on board and digested and understood the lesson.
You know, behavior plays a huge part.
It does.
Because of behavior, it could stop the teacher teaching.
It could spoil the lesson.
Spoils the lesson, distracts everyone else, and it doesn't work. I don't know, behavior management is probably not the most important, but it's up there.
Maybe we should put it in the top two.
Top two, yeah, maybe it's 2 or 3 of them.
I think the top one, I would say,
Differentiation is important.
that is important.
Okay, cool. I've seen that.
I think that's a skill, really hard skill to acquire. It's so
He
hard.
insists it's not hard when I'm teaching.
Seriously.
I think
It's a secret.
I don't know.
He's going to cover it today.
Because I think, you know, if anything, us Maktab teachers, we have a problem with differentiation. Because in school, they're the same age, and usually they split into sets, like when you're in secondary school, then they're all in the same level anyway. But we have different ages.
You say that, but there's still the thing of essential special needs.
That's another issue. Yeah. That's a whole new thing.
Especially in Islamic studies, how do you differentiate for SEN students like an alphabet? I don't know, it's just, I find it quite difficult to say.
Yeah, it is difficult. I think the most important is
So maybe we should put that as our second one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah?
Is that the...
we'll see, shall we see?
1 minute and 30 seconds to come up with your order. Okay, 1 minute and 30 seconds. What goes at the top? You've got
one of
less
these
time.
two should be at the top. Because that way you've proven whether the child is taking a lesson on board or not.
What about student progress?
I know this might sound a bit strange, but I think progress, obviously, it's important, but I think
There's also
Okay, you've got 1 minute.
Which is
1 minute.
If we're gonna
actually getting the kids to engage and buy into what you're doing along with the lesson objectives.
so why don't we put creativity here? Because that is important.
Right, 47 seconds. You've got to have your order. And then I'm going to get you to write down your reasons.
what's important, what's the most important?
So at least have your order.
How do we put behavior management here instead? And then put plenary there. Yeah, do that. Creativity, and then
You reckon creativity is right at the bottom?
it shouldn't be at the
That's what
bottom.
we've done.
Okay, 15 seconds. Let's have your order. 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Now we're putting student progress.
10 seconds.
How's that?
I always swap this for that. Student
Okay, 5, 4. I want everyone looking this way before I get to 1. So again, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, right. Okay, so can everyone look this way, please? So now you've got some form of order. Some of you are still disagreeing and agreeing. That's fine. All I'd like you to do now, anywhere on any sheet you have, doesn't really matter. Okay, on the back of any sheet, write down why you as a group. Yeah. The one at the top is the most important, and one at the bottom is least important, and then we're going to have a debate amongst the tables. Okay. To find out why you disagree with each other. and why you think the one you have at the top is the most important, one at the bottom, least important. Off you go. I'm only going to give you about 2.5 minutes. Off you go.
So
2.5
I
minutes.
really believe
Write down why you think the one at the top is
Funny is we don't even know assessment for learning. That's the trouble.
that's why it's so important.
We think we have our... Yeah, let's do that. That's fine.
They can't like easy.
We talked about how you're checking and you're making
You
sure.
want to know what the kid is taking back home.
Yeah.
You want to know for this half an hour or 1 hour and a half hours you've been teaching that kid, what is he taking? One thing or two things that is, fully established in his head.
So if the lesson has been understood,
helps teachers to understand. Kids have understood.
Okay, you've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes to write down and be firm upon what you believe.
If after doing the plenary and you realise the kids have learned something, also it gives the teacher sort of motivation, and it gives the, makes the teacher happy that at least they've learned something.
And the students as well.
Yeah, and the
They
students
can
as
explain
well.
something, you talk to them back to you.
so the teacher is able to ascertain that the child has understood the lesson, absorbed the information.
We put lesson objectives, outcomes, bottom. I think we could say that like a starter would kind of
You know what?
cover it.
Yeah, because I think
Okay, 1 minute and
sometimes
15 seconds. Not a lot of time.
Starters
it's just to engage them. I know it's,
Yeah.
it's just to have the focus and everything ready.
Sometimes starters can relate to the lesson.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's it. Yeah,
it's not related.
Yeah.
Something.
Okay, 1 minute. 1 more minute.
Spot the difference or something, just to make them sort of.
Yeah.
Although if you get them hooked from the start, they can get kind of excited. by-
Okay, 40 seconds. 40 seconds. Got to write down why most important, why least important.
So we know the theory and we believe that.
So why have we put this bottom again?
Lesson
Just simply
objective.
because it's
I was thinking it's
Okay, we should be finishing now. Finishing off our last sentence.
students know like, okay, this is what I'm going to learn today.
what's actually important is what.
Yeah.
That this is what you're going to be learning
You
today.
should acquire that throughout the lesson anyway. But it is always good to let them know though, so they know.
10 seconds.
So they find.
So would you say it's the least important?
I think behaviour.
5,
I'm saying why.
4,
I know behaviour
3,
is important. But
2,
engage a child.
and
Mess around.
That's true.
1.
So they're separate.
Sometimes your kids are going to mess around anyway.
I know. But it's really unlikely though if they're busy.
Lessons engaged.
Okay, now.
Depends on
time.
the lesson.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I don't know everyone's names, okay, I've got your names on a box. Some of you I don't have. So at some point I'm going to get those names put on one of these sticks. And what's going to happen is I'm just going to pick out a name from the box. See what this does, what I'm doing now, you see I've used a timer. Use that in your class. This activity, you can use it in your class. Because remember, I don't have to stand and lecture about, okay, this is what a plenary is. Some of you already know what it is, and you're going to share it with your group. So you're learning from each other. I don't need to lecture you about it. You can learn from yourselves. And Imam Ghazali was very strong on this. Okay? You sit together, you take time on something, Allah will put in your hearts. Okay? So it's similar to that. So what I'm going to do is very important. I usually don't, I do, but I shouldn't say, okay, put your hands up if you know this. You know, the same guys put their hands up every single time. Here's one method of going up against that at the beginning, and then you can change it later on to know who's weak, who's good at certain things. If you want to know a spelling, okay, if you want to know if the whole class knows a spelling, you ask the child who's bad at spellings. Okay, do you know this spelling? If he doesn't know it, that means okay, there might be certain problems. If he knows the spelling, that means everyone else should know it. Okay, that's later on though. But at the beginning, all the names on one of these sticks. You can get these from Amazon, thousands of them. Okay, so be prepared, inshallah. Okay, so if your name comes up, it's your group, you've got to tell me why most important, why least important. Okay, let's go. Oh, Mudassir. Surprise, surprise, Mudathir. Okay.
He knows it.
Okay, so Mudathir, why do you have, okay, now what I would like is everyone to focus on the answer because I might ask you to respond to that. Mudathir, what have you guys got, as so Qasim can take part as well, what is the most important part of a lesson and why?
We got AFL.
AFL, explain what that is.
Previously, what the student had done in the previous week.
Okay, what does AFL stand for first of all?
Assessment for learning.
Okay, so assessment for learning, you're assessing, you're finding out if they've learned or not, yeah.
So we tend to assess. We don't want to just start off the classroom by a new subject.
Okay.
We want to be prepared whether the children are aware what's
Very good point. Very good point. So, most important, AFL, assessment for learning. You want to know whether they've already been learning, so you want to assess them on that first. Okay. Now, let me ask Sayyidah Haq. Where's Sayyidah Haq? Okay. What have you got as the most important?
I put creativity.
Okay, creativity. Okay, why?
Because obviously you have to know the child's teaching style and it has to be presentable and colourful.
Yep.
For the child to like the institution or the activity.
Okay. So, of course. So you're saying, okay, assessment learning is not as important because you first have to engage them, and that's through creativity. Mudathir, what do you have to say about that? What do you have to say about that, Mudathir?
No, that can, again, creativity is a great idea, but that's part of the next lesson which you're about to teach them. What about the previous lesson? Do we
What about
just
the
teach
previous
them and just leave it away?
Okay, what about the previous lesson?
We didn't hear that.
Okay, could you say it louder, please?
My school.
Yes, of course. Okay, shall I just translate what you said, yeah?
Yeah.
So basically what Ustadh Mudathir said, what about what they've learned previously? If you're going to start a new lesson, okay, what about what's happened before? Maybe they've forgotten it, you don't even know if everyone knows it or not, and you're going on to the next lesson, and you're going to be learning new things, you don't know if they've learned everything prior to this lesson.
You can interlink it.
Okay?
With, you know.
But that's not what the question is. What's the most important aspect of a lesson?
Okay. Okay, oh, brilliant. Okay, so explain that. How would you say that AFL is not as important as creativity?
Well, I actually disagree with this.
Okay,
is
excellent, good, brilliant.
My, I think most important for me is student progress.
Okay.
That's the most important aspect. Why else are we there? What else are you, in my opinion, why are you there? You're trying to teach them something new.
Yep.
So student progress is important.
So we've got AFL, creativity, progress.
It's too daunting again.
Okay.
They want my progress, they want to assess me. What's
Yes,
going on?
yes,
I want to
interesting.
enjoy myself. I want to enjoy my learning.
Interesting. Yeah, very good. Good point. Okay. So Samsung. Samsung? Oh, Samsung. Sorry. She's not here?
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, Samsung, so what have you got as the most important? What has your group got as the most important and why? Sorry? Okay.